Hi, good to see you. I'm Max, and in this video, we will talk about what's coming up for Cardano in 2021. And there are a lot of things, so make sure to watch the entire video. But before it starts, more than 50% of you guys aren't following us on YouTube. And if that's the case, make sure to follow us as we post on a daily basis about Cardano. And we will even post tomorrow during Christmas, so make sure to follow us. So let's get into it. 2021 is going to be a major year for Cardano. It's going to be a massive year, and I think it's going to be the most important year for Cardano because 2021 is the year that Cardano will get essentially fully centralized. And you could argue that 2020 was the biggest year yet for Cardano. And it kind of was, thanks to Shelley. But full decentralization will only come once Voltaire is here. And once Voltaire is here, what's very interesting is that the Cardano network will start being autonomous. And you once Voltaire is here, you could call the Cardano network, I guess, a self-improving network, in the sense that through governance, people are directly incentivized to build on top of the network and to want the best of the network, as they have ADA, and the more ADA they have, the more power they have in governance. And so once Voltaire is here, Cardano will become a fully self-improving network. And you will probably see a ton of new things emerging in this ecosystem thanks to the governance, because people will be able to raise funds very quickly through the treasury. People will be able to create new things very quickly without taking too much risks on a personal side, thanks to the treasury, which will allow them to take risks which they wouldn't have taken if they were using their own money. Which means that if these initiatives are successful, they will really move forwards Cardano a lot. And so Voltaire is, in that regard, incredibly important. But before Voltaire, well, there is still Basho and Goguen. Now, we speak a lot about Goguen, and I think you've probably already heard enough about Goguen. It's essentially just smart contracts. But Basho will also be very interesting. And I think Basho is, we often talk about Shelley, Goguen, and Voltaire, but never really about Basho. And Basho, in that regard, is incredibly interesting because Basho will allow the interoperability with other chains, right? Through the use of side chains and these types of things, you will be able to in a certain way, connect Cardano with other chains, whatever it is, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's any other chain. You will be able to do that, and that's something which is incredible, mainly because that's where it starts getting interesting. It started to get interesting for people outside at the moment of the current ecosystem to start building on top of Cardano, because once your platform is fully interoperable, you've essentially removed all the friction regarding adoption, and there are no excuses anymore to not build on top of it, because you can't say, oh, well, yeah, but it's not compatible with Ethereum where my users are. Well, it now is, so you have no excuse. You just have to build on top of it. And so Basho is, in my opinion, going to be one of the major milestones in regards with Cardano. And in my opinion, it's very, very, very underrated at the moment. People are very excited about, Goguen and Voltaire, which is entirely understandable. But Basho is, in my opinion, also a major, major step. So once Voltaire is here, what happens? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Once Voltaire is here, IOHK, well, they don't lead the project anymore. The community does. And so the community will be voting on whether or not they extend essentially the contract, or essentially, re-sign a contract with IOHK which means that IOHK will continue building on top of Cardano. This will probably be the case. We kind of owe them all of it, actually. When you look at Cardano, it's all done by IOHK. And so, in that regard, I think it will be very interesting to see how, once IOHK hasn't the lead anymore, how will the project move forward? Because it will be entirely community-based. My personal opinion is that stake pools will take the lead. I may be wrong, however. We may see with Voltaire the emergence of new entities, new people in the ecosystem who will probably gain some importance, protocol politicians, I guess you could call them. And so that's really what's going to happen after Voltaire. But regarding innovations after Voltaire, right? Because once Voltaire is here, the network is pretty much finished, I guess you could call it. Well, the thing is that a network is never finished, right? It's always improving. And I think it would be a very bad idea, actually, to stop innovating after Voltaire, mainly because, these other blockchains are constantly evolving and improving their technology. So one of the major things after Voltaire, which will come on a technical perspective, is Hydra. And Hydra is essentially technology which allows you to make your network highly scalable. And essentially, in blockchain, there is this blockchain trilemma where you can have security and scalability, but then you will not have decentralization. You can have decentralization and security, but then you will not have scalability. And you can have decentralization and security, but then you will lack scalability. So that's the blockchain trilemma. And in that regard, Hydra solves this problem and pretty much makes it kind of like how torrenting works. If you look at how torrenting works, the more users there are, the more scalable the system. And so it grows, the scalability grows linearly with the amount of users using the technology. And right now, with blockchain, the more users there are, the less scalable it is. And so with Hydra, the real goal is to make it like torrenting, where the more users there are, the more scalable it becomes. And that's going to be a very, very, very major innovation. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think we will see it coming in 2021. Probably 2022, knowing, software delays, right? let's not fix our estimations, I guess you could call it, or our expectations. That's it, expectations on 2021 for Hydra. But once it's coming, Hydra will be a major innovation. Regarding the ecosystem itself, I think right now we have a few hundred stake pools on the network. I think, in 2021, there will probably be much more than 1,000. Once there starts to be real use on the network and ADA's price starts appreciating due to the interest of users and investors in the currency, people are going to start wanting to create their own stake pool, right? It's going to be a gold rush. And I think what's very interesting about Cardano is that, in contrast with Ethereum, where if you create a validator, period, that's it, right? You are producing blocks. Because you have already the sum of money you need, which is 32 Ether, in order to create that validator. On Cardano, that's not the case. On Cardano, you can literally start with 0 and still make it in the big guys, if I may say it like that. Like the Digi, Bloom, these types of major stake pools. And the way you can do that is by contributing to the ecosystem, is by creating content, is by putting yourselves out there, yourself out there. And that's kind of exactly what I'm doing here, actually, right? I'm operating stake pool. I'm putting myself out there every single day to push you to delegate to my stake pool. And I'm an example of that. Literally, I'm an example of what I'm saying here, is that Cardano incentivizes stake pool operators to contribute to the ecosystem, to contribute to the growth of the platform and to the growth of the protocol. And so once you're going to see this gold rush, people are going to have to need to figure out how they will, I guess you could say it's how they will differentiate themselves from the competition. And that's where it starts to be very interesting. Some stake pools will start building dApps on the network. Others will create content, like I'm doing here. Others will participate actively in governance and kind of become politicians, I guess you could say, and defend their delegators' interests. There are going to be a ton of different ways stake pools can position themselves, and I think that's going to be a very, very, very interesting thing to observe, if I say it like that. So I think that's it for 2021. Goguen, Basho, and Voltaire. It's going to be a very, very, very big year. Goguen is kind of entirely ready at the moment, right? We're just waiting for the hard forks. Basho, not sure about Basho. I think it's still in development. Voltaire is already people are already experimenting with it, and the IOHK team is already creating pilots. Whether it's with the Cardano, with the Catalyst projects, or with these types of things. Goguen is just Voltaire is just a matter of time at the moment. That's just it. It's just about experimenting and finding the right way of doing things. And once they have it, it will be there. So 2021 is going to be a very, very big year. And yeah, I hope you are as excited as I am about this major year which is coming up. And yeah, have a good end of the year. Tomorrow is actually it's the day after tomorrow. It's Christmas. Make sure to enjoy. Make sure to spend time with your family. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.